I think we'll get started. We have a good number of people. Okay, so this is just a little sneak peek of what HackHERS looks like, just as an example, if you've never seen any pictures of hackathons before. And HackHERS is the largest women-centric hackathon in New Jersey. Okay, so just an overview of what happens at hackathons in case you've never even heard of what hacking means. We're going to go over everything. Of course, there's an opportunity to code a project, create something new. A lot of technical workshops where you can learn different skills, maybe even learn a new language, meet a lot of people. There are fun games like karaoke. Sometimes there's MLH cup stacking. And of course, there's a lot of free food. Sometimes there's like midnight desserts, depending on the hackathon that you go to like re-energize you while you're hacking. A lot of free swag, like stuffed animals, pens, cups, and of course, networking. All the companies have reps that show up and stay for most of the day during the hackathon, and you have the chance to meet with them, ask them about their company, or if they have any internship opportunities that you can maybe apply for. Oh, and if you have any questions, please put it in the chat or even unmute yourself. Okay, so for the prizes, when you hack, there's always company prizes and then the regular prizes given by the university. And as far as the company prizes go, you're usually trying to solve a real world problem that applies to that company. So it could be a fintech company giving you a problem or a challenge related to data analysis with like a data set that they'll bring, maybe. That's just one example, or even a customer experience kind of hack. And it's very broad. It's a chance for you to create something new that maybe applies to a lot of different challenges. So, like, you could be creating something that is like a funny hack, but also related to a company. You have like chances to try anything. And of course, if you do really well or you impress the companies, you could have a chance to have an interview on the spot. I have seen this happen at HackRU, where the winner of the best overall hack got an interview on the spot, like in the corner of the room, which was very cool to see. Sometimes at hackathons, the prize itself is an offer to do an internship in the summer. So just something to keep in mind. And of course, the most popular prize that people go for is the best overall hack. But of course, there's more prizes like funniest hack, best hardware hack, where it's a little bit more specific. Okay, so hacking. I remember the first time I went to hackathon and I didn't know what hacking meant. I thought like they'll give you a chance to like hack a computer or hack a system. Like I had no idea what hacking meant at all. But hacking just means creating something new, a project, or maybe solving a problem and presenting your solution. So you would start with any idea that you have. Maybe a prize from a company inspires you to create a solution. You would start there and then look at all the resources that are available for you to create that solution. So there's always going to be a dev post link for a hackathon, which is kind of like the platform for all the hackers to take a look at all the resources that companies might bring or even the like list of the prizes. So you would start from scratch kind of with your idea. It's a lot of Googling, I would say, looking up different ways that you can come up with your solution or different technologies you can use. So the way you would start is with your idea and then doing all the Googling and maybe checking out the dev post, maybe talking to the companies, and then seeing how you would go from there. This is just a picture from HackHERS 2019 with everyone on their computers hacking. So as for the steps for how to start, because I think that's the hardest part. I mean, you can go to a hackathon and not hack at all, but to have like a complete experience and learn something new, it's always the best to try to hack something. So the way you'd start, like I said, is to look over the prize categories and see if you can think of a prize that overlaps with a couple of categories, kind of to give you a better chance of winning one if that's what you're interested in. But even like seeing one thing like funniest hack, which might not apply to a lot of other prizes, might make you interested in thinking of something creative and fun. So once you have an idea of what category you're going for, or like what solution you're trying to create, or like what kind of project you're making, then it helps to like figure out the structure. So maybe you want to make an Android app, you have an Android phone and you can like connect it That means you'd have to download Android Studio. So like figuring out the structure, what technologies that you need is like the best way to start because then you know what you need to start Googling. So then, yeah, you need to gather the resources that you need. So again, checking the dev post, even taking a look at the hardware. I mean, I know at Hackers, we won't really have a chance to do a lot of things, but in another hackathon, when you're there in person, you will have like access to a lot of different hardware, and maybe the companies will be giving you stuff on the spot that you can try out, including APIs, which I know like when I first started hackathon, I didn't understand what that meant, but it's basically a technology that developers have access to that you can like reuse in your code, and that way you'd save time and you wouldn't have to make it yourself. So it's really efficient in that you don't need to understand the nitty gritty of like how that API is created. You just need to know how to use it. So one quick example, if you've heard of JSON, the JSON API is like a way for you to parse through data, kind of manipulate it and traverse through it, and it's something that you have in Java. That's just like a quick example, but this is another example I wanted to show you to give you a better idea of what that is. So this is one of my friend's hacks from a previous HackHERS where it's called Memify Me. So basically she used the Google Vision API and through her camera detected the person's like sentiment on their face to generate a random meme using that. So like it would use sentiment analysis on the face. So as you can see, like I'm right there and I'm making a sad face or like trying to. So then it'll choose one of her like sad memes and then like put my picture on it. So this won the funniest hack during Hackers. So this is an example of how to use an API to make something unique and different. And yeah, she didn't have to create that API. She just had to embed it in her code and kind of use it that way. And I think it was just a web application. Okay, so demos. Usually at a hackathon, when you have demos in person, you'll have judges coming to your table. I mean, I know it's different for like hackers. For hackers this year, you'll have to submit a video, but generally, either way, you explain your hack, its purpose, its like relevancy to the real world. And one thing to keep in mind is sometimes it's all about how you kind of sell your project. So even if you're not completely done, it's important to still demo and submit your hack because sometimes what matters is how you present the project to the judges. If it's a really interesting idea and they can see you developing it in the future, or if you explain how you would have added more to it if you had more time, sometimes that's what matters and you might still have a chance to win a prize. A lot of times people are they completed part of it, but there's like more that they would have done and they explain that. And then sometimes that gets the judges really inspired and then they might pick them for one of their prizes, even the company prizes. So, like in person, you would try to have the judges also involved in interacting with your hack if possible, because then that just keeps them more hooked and makes your hack more memorable. Like with the Memify one, I'm sure the judges had a lot of fun making faces at the camera and then like generating all these random memes and having something to laugh at. So that's just like an overview of demos. For hackers, you would submit your video explaining how your hack works and maybe like screen recording running through it. Kind of depends on what you're creating. But that's usually how demos are. It seems intimidating to like talk to so many people because you even like in general, you have judges like rotating every 5 minutes, like a new judge. You have to explain everything all over again, but you quickly get used to it because like it goes by faster than you think, in my opinion. Even though there's like I guess like an hour, it goes by really quickly because you're explaining everything over and over, having fun with your friends. Okay, so these are just some key advice and takeaways that like some of the Wix board has come up with together. The main one I would say is to submit your hack, even if you aren't done, even if part of it is broken, because just I think the main part of just submitting your hack is like having something to be proud of. Like I spent this weekend and I created this. And even if it's not done, you still have a chance of winning. So that's the main part. Have something that you can be proud of. Sometimes it helps to have your hack submitted for like multiple prizes because if it falls under one and then they have another person who they're giving that prize to, they might give you a prize for a different category that you applied for. So that's something I've noticed. And of course, looking at all the resources that are available, it's a lot of Googling and starting from scratch, which is okay because you're here to learn something new and have fun. So it's not like your only goal should be to win a prize. Either way, you get something out of it. Like you don't have to spend the whole time hacking. You can also go learn something new at a technical workshop or like play some games that are available during the day or even like to have fun with some of the free food like the midnight snacks. So your main goal shouldn't really be to like try to win a prize. It's more to learn something new and have fun because you'll definitely get something out of it. And of course, if you wanted to add more to your project and you didn't have time, they definitely understand that. So explaining that to the judges and how you would have added onto your project and just selling your project sometimes matters the most. And that's our overview for like everything you need to know about hackathons. Hopefully that makes you a little less nervous if you were before. But if you have any questions, please enter them in the chat. Oh, I noticed there are some questions. What software tools would you recommend we have before the hackathon? Um, usually usually when you go to hackathons, you're like, at least for me, I don't really know what I'm gonna make until I get there because it depends on the categories and like the different problems that the companies come with. So I usually don't have anything downloaded. But Sam, was there anything that you download or like have ready before you go to a hackathon?
Something that I like to do is kind of think about what my skills are, or like what things I can learn really quickly and come a little bit prepared. So say, like I want to make a website for whatever like my project's going to be. I have no idea, but like I want to be able to make a website. So I will brush up on like HTML and JavaScript before the hackathon. Things like that, where you kind of have an idea of what you might build and then prep yourself and kind of look into the basics of those tools. So if you want to like build an Android app, you might want to look into Java and how to use that software. So it's largely up to you. And also, Janice asked if judges will be going around rooms in the same way the hackathon. No, since the hackathon will be virtual. So the way it's going to work, it's all going to be on Slack, and each team that submits will be able to like get their own channel, and judges will be able to like hop around and ask questions.
I think that's a good point that like if you have an idea that you're gonna make a website or a web app, at least like brush up on those skills because like that that's gonna be your structure most likely of the project. That's a good point because I noticed like every time I have hacked, it has been some sort of web application. So just noticing that trend, maybe it would have been good to just brush up before getting there. Because sometimes when you get there and you have an idea, it just like takes a while to sink in or like takes a while to plan. So you can save that time by like thinking about that before you get there.
Yeah, and Janice, I think having Python and VS Code is great. I'm not sure. I can't think of any other things you might need. That again, like kind of depends on what direction you want to take your project in. But that's like an amazing start. Like you have the software and you know what language you might want to build in, so that's perfect. Also, something else that I like to do, kind of to get the juices flowing before a hackathon, I like looking at DevPost and seeing what other people have submitted in the past, just to kind of see what people are capable of making in the given time frame. So in the chat, I will put both the DevPost links to Hackers 2020 and Hackers 2021. So for 2021, you could see the prizes. That's pretty much all it really has. You could also join the dev post if you'd like. That's optional. You're going to join eventually, one way or another. But for Hackers 2020, these were the prizes. And if you want to find the projects that were submitted last year, you can go up and click Project Gallery. So these were all, you can see like the things that won prizes, and you could also see all the other hacks that were built.
Oh, and before you submit your hack, you would have to fill out this dev post with like a description of your project because it's still accessible, as you can see, like, years later for other people to see what you made in the previous years at hackathons, and exactly what you thought of when you made it, how you made it, what part you contributed to it. So just to keep in mind, I guess it's good to just like make your account right now if you're interested in participating in Hackers because you're gonna have to use it soon, and maybe it'll give you a good idea of like what you can build by looking at other previous years' hacks.
Do you also want to go to the Hackers 2021 dev post?
Yep. Okay, yeah, it's loading.
Ooh, exciting. So if you scroll down, you could see all the cool prizes we have. That's updated. So the best overall hack, the prize for that is a Nintendo Switch Lite, which is like, that's exciting. I don't know how many of you have Nintendo Switch Lite, but like that, it costs a lot. Yeah, they're also there's the themed hack, their funniest hack, best UI UX, and yeah, something
Oh,
else
we
that
also
I
have. Oh,
oh
go
yeah,
ahead.
you could go.
The best failed attempt hack, which I forgot to mention, but especially when you're at a situation where your hack is not working at all, but like maybe it looks kind of humorous and like you just want to submit to see what happens, you actually have a good chance of winning this. And it is a prize that is like a useful prize. Calpro, I don't know if you know what that is, but it's really cute and useful to have. But that just goes to show you that no matter what, you should submit because if you submit and maybe have this as one of your options, you could win it if your hack is completely not working or like partially working. So just something to keep in mind.
One other point that Raksha touched upon before that I kind of want to bring up again is like ideas are so valuable in hackathons because it's hard to build a complete project in like what 24 hours. So whenever if you do build something that like you only complete part of it, like you could really add a lot in like future implementations. You could just have like if you have a slideshow to present your work, you could just include future implementations. This is what we plan to do, because I think that that is really valuable in the judge's eyes. And
Yeah,
also,
that's a good point
Raksha,
with slides.
Ramitha posted attendance. Sorry, Raksha, go.
Oh, oh yeah, go ahead. That's a good point that you mentioned the slides because that you could show your future implementation, but you could also present everything in a clean way, like especially if your hack is not exactly working, you can show like highlights of it on slides. One person can show slides, but the other person shows the hack on the computer. So, I mean, that would be like in general at a hackathon. I know it's hard with remote, but that's just something to keep in mind.
Oh, and Janice asked, is there a place we can sign up for teams? So you can either ask around to find someone who might be interested in working with you, or you can join the dev post. So Hackers 2021, there's an option where you could like register for the hackathon via dev post. And you could kind of put in the options like, oh, you're looking for a team. That might not be the best way because not a lot of people are registered right now. Most people register day of. But at the event itself, like one of the first events we're gonna have is like a brainstorming team building like activity. So in that event, you could meet other people and kind of form groups and ideate. Yeah, no problem. Any other questions?
Is it for this PowerPoint or okay, yeah, I can do that.
Except for coding, what other skills would one need?
I mean, technically, you don't even need to know how to code before you go to a hackathon. Oh, it says you need, okay, I will send a better link in the group me in a bit, don't worry. Yeah, I mean, I've seen people go to hackathons who are like not even computer science majors, say like a psychology major and one year won a prize at HackRU because they learned Python in that day with their team. So technically, like you don't even need to know how to code if you're gonna be willing to go to a hackathon and learn how to code on the spot. But besides coding, I would say being able to present or articulate your idea to judges is a good skill to have. Like we said before, sometimes it's all about like selling your idea. So that would be one skill. I don't know if Sam has any other ideas.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. Like some skills I imagine would be more like related to product management even because that's what we're really doing. You're creating something and you have to consider maybe some advantages, disadvantages, and some like maybe there are gaps in development where it's like, oh, we need to consider like this feature, like would it actually work or how useful it would be. So part of the presentation um, could include like challenges you faced or how you kind of went about developing your product or your hack. And you could explain your thought process like, oh, we wanted to do this, but decided that, you know, this was better instead, or like we added this feature because of reasons X, Y, and Z. And being able to kind of see that process through and being able to consider like different aspects of your project and who might be affected by your project, I think that's really important. And what Raksha said, like being able to present it and pitch it, those are very good skills to have.
And also, when you have a team and you're creating a hack, it can be useful to delegate certain roles to each person. Maybe one person is in charge of the front end, one person is in charge of the back end, and one person is in charge of like creating the full idea and maybe the sides, like if they're not very strong in coding. So that's also something to keep in mind that you can like distribute the tasks evenly according to everyone's strengths. So that's I think how a lot of people who are not comp sci majors or even like were not willing to learn how to code in that short amount of time still contributed and won at a hackathon.
For someone who has very little technical experience, what would you suggest if they want to participate in submitting a project? I think some simple, like a simple web page with basic JavaScript or HTML, that I think is a good like beginner project. I think it's reasonable and relatively simple to make. And so that could potentially be something you go over before the hackathon. And then during the hackathon, you could look into a simple API. There are a lot of tutorials online. Some like APIs have very thorough documentation on like, it gives you step-by-step, they give you step-by-step tutorials on like how to use them. And even like there are YouTube videos that exist. So that might be something you want to look into. For example, one project that I worked on was like, this was for the Estee Lauder hackathon actually, and I went with a few other Wix people. But we built like a simple website. So that was like the basic HTML JavaScript to actually build the front-facing part of it. And then we looked up an API called like Edamame API, which keeps and maintains a database of food. And all we needed to do on our end was like make a call to that database and like fetch the information we needed. And all the like the way we needed to go about that, all that was like contained in like a tutorial, one tutorial online. So that was really helpful. And things like that are things you could do at a hackathon. Oh yeah, so this hackathon is open to all university students, so like undergraduate or graduate students can participate. And because we're online, our reach is actually a lot wider than it would have been. So usually we target like, you know, New Jersey states just because they're the ones who are most likely to come. Oh, New Jersey colleges, I mean. But now that we're online, we're kind of doing outreach for a bunch of other schools like around the country. And there are even some international students who registered. So yeah, right now we have a diversity of people. The maximum number of people, yeah, on a team, it is for. Oh, let me pull up a site that I reference a lot. There's a GitHub repository that maintains a list of public APIs. I don't know much about each individual API, but it's very nice to kind of see what's available out there. Like there is a whole section for anime related APIs. That's funny. Like they're animals. Yeah, no, this is great. So if you have an idea in mind, like you could look into one of these sites and see if the documentation is there and if it seems simple.
Wow, there's like a cat facts one too. I
Yeah,
didn't
oh
even
my
know about
God.
this website.
Yeah, this is great.
Wow, that's so cool. And yeah, sometimes companies bring their stuff too that maybe you can use one of their APIs. So they will always tell you, and it's helpful to just like speak to them sometimes, even if you're not sure about your idea, they can help you flesh it out. They're more than willing to help you. Like they want you to participate in their hack, right? They want to try to recruit people. So it can be helpful to talk to them too if you're interested in one of their prizes. And I remember for the person asking about like hacks that they can do as a beginner, I think it was last year when Pfizer had a data analysis kind of prize that they were or challenge, and some people just coded on RStudio and kind of analyzed because they gave like a sample data and then they just had to analyze the data and find a trend or something similar to that. So then the winners used RStudio, just analyzed the trend, and then made a huge slide deck with like what they found, charts, and like their conclusion, and maybe like screenshots from RStudio. So there's always chances for you to try something, even if you think you don't have like as many technical skills as other people.
Ramita just asked, could you go over how exactly you use an API in your code? So with an API, it's kind of hard to explain what exactly an API is because like every single company or every single like API that exists has different like directions on how to use it. So yeah, think of an API as like a set of directions on how to use their resources. Give me one moment. Yeah, so let's say the food API that I used. So this organization, this whatever, this company that owns this API, they on their end, they maintain like an entire set of like databases and data sets, and they have a bunch of information that I don't need to worry about like how they maintain it or how they get that information, how it stays up to date. That's all their work. And what they give me is like a list of directions on how to use like their tools. And the way a lot of the time an API works is that you have to make an account with the API and they give you like a password, they give you a key to use. And this special key will kind of like give you permission to use that thing and automatically it will like connect. So it's hard to give you a concrete example because of that kind of nature where it's like it all depends on what the API is and like that determines how you use it.
Oh yeah, so with the other example with my friend's demo, the API she used was Google Vision. So it used the computer's camera and then used some sentiment analysis with the faces. And all she had to do was integrate that in her code and then pick a meme based on the sentiment that it detected. So it's almost as if the API did a lot of work, but it can be challenging to integrate that in your project. And of course, you had a whole application that would allow you to like see the new image, the meme that it created, and download it to. So I mean, that's quite a lot of work for like 24 hours, but it's definitely doable. So APIs help in that way. Simran asks, are there any APIs which don't require a key?
None come to mind. I think most require you to make an account, but like the public APIs, those are all free. So like you only need to make an account and that's that.
Is it okay to show your hackathon project on your resume if it is worth flexing? That's 100% okay. It's a personal project that you made, so you should definitely put it on your resume because you took the time, learned new technologies, and created something, right? So just showing recruiters that you made something and learned something new in that short amount of time, especially if you won a prize, I think it's very impressive to keep that on your resume.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. And I enjoy talking about hackathons during like interviews and stuff. Because you could like kind of, there are a lot of ways you can incorporate like how you tackle challenges, like how you work with people. There are a lot of bases to cover when talking about like working on a project at a hackathon. And also, I think this is like my own personal opinion, but I feel like people who go to hackathons tend to enjoy coding. Like if you're a computer science student who like hates it and who only does it for the money, like I don't think you're gonna go out of your way to like, you know, code a project. But I feel like people who really enjoy it and who are engaged in this field do go to hackathons, and that might you might be able to show that if you like talk about during an interview or like do include it on your resume.
That's a good point. I didn't even realize participating in a hackathon and demoing something actually shows the recruiters a lot of different skills, like working in a team and maybe like delegating tasks. And sometimes in interviews, when people ask you if you've been in certain tricky situations with other groups, it can be helpful to think of your hackathon experience and bring that up. Or it doesn't even have to be tricky, just like when you learn something new. Like there's a lot of situations that could apply to hackathons. Are there any more questions? Feel free to ask because we didn't even take a lot of time with presenting. Oh, how many of you are participating in Hackers?
Better be all of you.
Yeah. I know it's online, but it's still going to be a lot of fun. And I hope that all of you come back next year too when it's in person. Oh, yes, Kiana, you said you want to. Have you registered? If not, I can drop the links. Oh,
No,
no.
I already have it. I already have
Okay.
it. You know, you register, go. And there's one point where it says like, oh, you have to be. Yes, there's definitely still time to register. We don't really have a closing date. Priority registration closes on like end of the month, and then in February we're gonna have it open to everyone. And but yeah, we don't have a formal date for hold on. Yeah, so there's no formal date where we're gonna close registration, but there is one section that asks like, oh, you must be a part of a woman-centric organization to participate in hackers, and that like everyone here can say Wix because like you're at this meeting and like you know we're associated with Wix. So if you've been to a Wix meeting, like you automatically qualify as someone who could like say that they're a part of Wix. Just as an aside.
Oh, and I wanted to mention that the rest of the Pre-HackHERS series is going to be very technical. So, someone mentioned learning some skills before a hackathon. It'll be a perfect chance for you to learn something that you can use in your hack during HackHERS. Yes, you can put Wix even if you aren't an active member. Just being a general member makes you a part of Wix.
And also, let me pull up the list of events we have planned. Let me check out the Instagram.
There are 4 more workshops in the Pre-HackHERS series, and they're all at this time on Friday, so I think that is what Sam is pulling up.
Yes, yes, exactly. So next week we have Intro to Figma. After that, we're gonna do how to build a CRUD app, and then how to build a Chrome extension. That'll be on February 12th, and Intro to React will be on February 19th, and then that will just bring us right into Hackers. Yes, same link. Ooh, okay. I could just put that in the chat. So at Rutgers Wix, and then also are you hackers? So we have 2 separate accounts, one for the women computer science, and then one exclusively for hackers. Also, feel free to invite like friends from other colleges. We kind of touched on this before, but like this isn't just for Rutgers students, it's for all university students. So if you have friends from high school who you think would be interested, you could definitely like form a team and like hack with them at this hackathon.
Oh, and like we said, even if you have friends who are not comp sci majors, you can have them participate and contribute in a way to your project. Or if they're willing to learn a language too, that would be great chance for them to do that.
Any more questions? Okay, I'm gonna drop the attendance link one more time in the chat, and then yeah, I think we're good. Raksha, is there anything else you want to add?
No, there isn't. I was just going through all the chat to see if we missed any questions. But if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out and group me or even like PM either myself or Sam. And yeah, see all of you next week when we go into our more technical workshops, and have a great weekend. Make sure you sign in attendance.